guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to be reviewing the ColourPop times ZOELLA brunch date makeup collection. This collection is quite big, so we have a lot to cover. I will be sharing my thoughts on every single item. I will be giving you guys some comparisons, and of course at the end I will be showing you my 3 looks that I created with the brunch date eyeshadow palette. So I'm just going to keep the intro short because, like I said, we have a lot to cover in today's video. So let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, so first I want to kind of break down the collection, show you what is in the brunch date collection with ZOELLA. Firstly, there is an eyeshadow palette called Brunch Date. This is $18 US and it has 12 shadows, so it's exactly the same price, same size as the typical size of ColourPop's palettes, but it's just in a different layout. It's in a rectangle. I'm not really a big fan of this new layout. I wish they would have just stuck to the normal layout. I find this a little bit harder to store, but nonetheless it is in a new layout, but the pricing is still exactly the same. She also has 3 lip bundles that you can also purchase. These are $11.50 each. They all come with a lippy pencil and an ultra matte lip. You can buy the ultra matte lips individually and they will be $6.50 US, but it's really cute how they come in these like little milk cartons. I love it. She also came out with 2 supernova shadows, which you can get in a bundle for $14 US, or you can buy them individually for $7. She also came out with a blush and a highlight. These are both $8 US each and both in the pressed formula. And then we have 2 creme gel liners. These are $5 US each, and you do have the option of buying the makeup bag for $10 US. I actually really like this bag and I have a feeling I'm gonna use it a lot. So now that you guys know what's in this collection, we can start tackling down each individual product. So first, let's start off with the eyeshadow palette because I feel like that is what's most exciting. Well, to me, eyeshadows is always what's most exciting. I thought I would show you guys the packaging of the box as well. I know packaging is not a big deal, but you can tell that ZOELLA did put a lot of thought into the packaging of this collection. It's just so different, and the unit cartons of everything is so cute. It would be really cute to like display this in your kitchen or something if it suits your decor. It gives me beauty bakery vibes, but I wouldn't say it's like a copy of it. I feel like it's very inspired by that. Just the overall vibe is very cutesy. My first impression on the Brunch Date eyeshadow palette is that I feel like I can dupe a lot of these shades with other shadows that I have in my collection from ColourPop, from other brands, and you will see in my dupe section I did do that. I could find a very comparable shade to almost every single shade in here. So I'm not gonna say that this palette is something that you need to buy. Like, I'm not gonna rave about it, but it's a good palette. You know, it works. ColourPop's formula is amazing. If you like the shades in here, I mean, it's a great palette. What stands out to me are actually the transition shadows, Maple Syrup and Mimosa. I love these shadows so much, but they're not worth it to spend $18 on like 2 eyeshadows. You know what I mean? Everything else to me is quite, I don't know, mediocre. It's beautiful eyeshadows, but I've seen it before. I have these shadows in my palettes, and all 3 looks I could have created with any other ColourPop palette I have. You know what I mean? It's nothing too crazy, but you know, if you support ZOELLA and you want to buy this collection and you like the packaging, I mean, go for it because it does work amazingly. The formula is great. It's just a matter of fact of what shadows you have in your collection already, and I could assume that a lot of you guys probably have a majority of these similar tones in your eyeshadow collection. I do see myself using it again in the future just because of those 2 transition shadows. I like these kind of transitions where it's a little bit more muted. To me, it's just a so-so palette, so you can take what you want from there. I'm not gonna like highly recommend it, but it's not like the worst palette I've ever used, you know? So now over the screen, I'm just gonna quickly show you guys the dupes that I found, or comparisons that I found for the Brunch Date eyeshadow palette. I'm not gonna explain through each one. I feel like you guys can really see. Some of them are really just for comparisons to show you guys what this would look like on your eyes. Now let's talk about the Supernova shadows. I have a couple of the Supernova shadows. I don't use them too much just because I don't really like using cream products on my face. It's just an extra step that I just don't want to do. But out of the two, they do look very, very similar, but they are slightly different. I would say they are more different in formula rather than the shade. But Bellini is a lot more metallic, and this one is the more rosy, like rose gold. This one is like a pure metallic, very, very smooth. I really like this one. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful shade. And the other one called OG, this one is not as metallic. It has more thicker glitters in it. It's a little bit more gritty. And this formula of Supernova shadow, I personally don't like. I think it's just too thick. It flakes off on my eyes and it's just not my favorite. It's just, there's just too much glitters, and the glitters are not very fine. It's very gritty and just, it doesn't apply that nicely onto the eyes. But the difference with OG to Bellini is that this one's probably a bit more like champagne. It's not as pink and rose gold as Bellini. Out of the two, I personally like Bellini more just because of the formula. It's more metallic. There's not much glitters to it. I do like the Supernova shadow. They are very easy to use, very beautiful if the formula is right. Let's talk about the creme gel liners. I actually really like these. These are probably one of my favorite things in this collection. First have XOXO, which is the black. This one is super, super smooth. If you have Swerve from ColourPop, which is their black creme gel liner, I don't like Swerve at all. It doesn't show up in my waterline. It kind of fades out. With ColourPop's creme gel liners, some of them are great, some of them aren't so great, but this one, XOXO, is beautiful. It does have like little, I would say, specks of glitters, but once you put it in your waterline, you definitely can't see it at all. And it's just super black. It's super smooth, very pigmented, much better than Swerve. And once it's in the waterline, it does look like a pitch black, so you have no problem with that. And then we have Sincerely Yours, which is the brown. This one is also more of a metallic. Both of these are more metallic. I wouldn't say they are complete matte, but once you put it in your waterline, you really can't tell the difference between a normal one and this one. This one is very similar to Mr. Bing, which is Kathleen's creme gel liner, and that's actually one of my favorite creme gel liners. This one is a lot smoother in the waterline, I feel. It's also very pigmented as well. Okay, now moving on to the blush and the highlighter. First off, this packaging is literally the cutest thing ever. Let's talk about the blush first. This is called Soulmate, and in the pan it looks very pink, very bright, very Barbie. I paired this with all three looks and I felt like this looked really, really great. Now this isn't a matte blush, so if you don't like a blush that has a bit of a sheen to it, you're not gonna like this blush at all. So when you apply it to your cheeks, it's a very beautiful light pink shade, and it does give you a bit of highlight. So if you wanted to go for a very natural look, you could stop it there and not add on highlight. You'll get a bit of sheen from within. It's very subtle, but it's very pretty on the skin. I actually really like this blush. We then have the highlighter. This is called Swipe Right. In the pan, I thought I would really like this because it looks like a beautiful champagne yellow gold, but on my skin, it just, all the purple like reflex just shows up on my skin. You see no gold. It's pretty much just like a pinky purple highlight. And for me, like, although it's pretty and it's not a highlighter that I would wear like every day, just for this collection, it made no sense at all. You know, everything in this collection, I get the vibe of like girl next door, just like everyday wear and just great for work, you know, just for everyday, just for the everyday gal. But when I came to this highlight, I was like, this is not a highlight that I feel like fits in with this collection. It was just kind of like the odd thing out in this collection, and it was just weird. I mean, on its own, it's great, but in this collection as a vibe with everything else, I was kind of confused about it. So for the blush and the highlight, I don't have any like comparisons or dupes for you guys. So no dupes there or no comparisons there. So let's move on to the final category, which is the lip products. She came out with all ultra matte lips, which to be honest is like not my favorite formula. It's probably like the last formula that I would go to. I wish like maybe she would have done like Luxe lipsticks or something. I feel like that would have suited the vibe of this collection more, like Luxe lipsticks. But anyway, she came out with 3 ultra matte lips, and the matching lip pencil, which you can't buy individually. You can only get the lip pencils if you get it in the bundle. So first, let's just talk about my favorite one, which is called Self Love Club. When I wore this, so many of you guys DM'd me asking me, what is on your lips, what is that color? And I'm like, why is people so intrigued by a red lip? But when I was like swatching it and comparing it to other reds that I have in my collection, it's actually so different. This is not like a true red. It almost has like a magenta undertone to it. I compared this to Ariba from Karen's collection. I'm actually going to compare all three lip colors to Karen's lip colors, and you can tell that they are so different, but especially to Ariba. Ariba is like a true blue red, and you can see such a difference between the red. So this one is like a favorite of mine from the collection. I like this one the most. I'm not going to really talk about the lippy pencils just because you can only get it like in the bundle. But if you're curious about my thoughts on the lippy pencils, I really do like the lippy pencils. They are very soft, very creamy. They don't tug on your lips. It works great. It's just that it gets blunt very easily. And then we have the last two ultra matte lips. The one I'm wearing right now is Little One. It's more of like a neutral nude. I don't like these colors, you know. I don't think they look good on me. They're just too cool toned against my warm toned skin. It makes me look very pale and very sick. I just don't like Little One or At Me at all. It's just the shades that I don't really like. If you like these kind of shades, I know a lot of people do, but if you like these kind of shades and you like the ultra matte formula, then why not? It's affordable. For me, it's just not my kind of shade preference. Okay, so that was the whole collection pretty much. I now want to share with you my favorites. My first recommendation out of this whole collection, what I love most is the creme gel liners. I think these are actually really great. They go on your waterline, very pigmented, very smooth. So I like both. I would recommend both. They will come in handy. I'll also have to recommend the Ultra Matte Lip in Self Love Club. It's a different type of red, especially when you're comparing it. But yeah, those were my recommendations. That was my review. This video is going to be super long, so let's just go ahead and get started with the swatches and the 3 looks. Okay, so to get started with the first look, we're going to take the shade Maple Syrup and we're going to put this all over our lids, and then we're going to blend it up into our crease just slightly. This is just going to give the lids a wash of color, and I'm also going to run this on my lower lash line as well because I want this look to be very natural, very diffuse, very minimal, so it's like a great everyday kind of makeup look. And then I'm just going to take the shade Pancakes Please on my ring finger, and I'm going to dab this all over my lid space once again and then bring it up towards the crease slightly. So I actually like to use my finger to place on the product, and then I'll go in with a fluffy brush to blend out the edges and make it even more diffused. And then I'll take the creme gel liner in the shade Sincerely Yours, and I'm going to use this to tightline my upper waterline, and I'm also going to bring that onto my lash line as well, almost smudging it on my lash line. Again, we want this look to look very natural and just very diffuse, so we're going to smoke it out on the lash line. You can also go in with a brush or a cotton bud, and that will help you do all the blending that you need to do. I think tightlining your lash line is going to help make your lashes look like it's coming from the root and it looks a lot thicker. And then I'm also just going to take that onto my bottom waterline as well. And then I'll just take the shade Champagne Toast, and I'm going to use this to highlight my inner corners and also my brow bone. Alright guys, so this is the first look completed. For my lashes, I am wearing the Kiss lashes in the style Ritzy. And for my final lip pairing, I decided to go with the Ultra Matte Lip in the shade Self Love Club. I just thought it was a good pairing for the minimal eye. I want to incorporate more realistic, everyday, natural looks that you guys can actually wear out to work or to school or whatever it may be. I know half-cut creases are not, you know, the ideal thing to wear every day, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this more wearable eye look. Alright, so to get started with the second look, I'm going to take the shade Mimosa, and this is going to be our transition shadow. Just placing that straight into the crease using windshield wiping motions. You want to make sure this is well blended out since it's going to be the base for a very dark, intense, smoky eye. I'm also going to bring that down to my lower lash line as well. Next, using the shade French Toast, I'm going to focus this at the outer corner of my eye and also the inner corner of my eye. And you just want to leave the middle part of your lid space blank. You can put shadow on top there if you want because we are going to be covering it, but it's just nice to leave it with no product so that way the color that we put on top can shine through more. And of course, again, I'm just going to bring that down to my lower lash line, but I'm going to be stamping it up against my lash line, not really smoking it out. This is just going to define the lower lash. And then I will be using the shade Extra Slice, doing exactly the same thing we did with French Toast, but we're going to focus it a little bit lower and also focus it in a smaller section. We're not going to blow it out, which is really going to make the eye a lot deeper and smoky. And then once again, just taking that down to my lower lash line as well, just balancing everything out together. Next, I'll be taking the Supernova shadow in the shade Bellini. I'm actually going to put some on the back of my hand and then I'll take my brush and dip into this, just because I don't want to apply it directly onto my eyes because I don't want it to set right away. I want to be able to control it, maneuver it, and place it where I need it to be. But pretty much this is going to be the base for the shadow that we're going to place on top of it. I think the Supernova shadows are great as a base just to bring out that most metallic shine. Now I'm using the shade Sunny Side Up and I'm using this shadow wet, but pretty much we're just going to place this right on top of that Supernova shadow. It's just going to give the shade a little bit more pink, more dimension. Now I'm going to be using the ColourPop Creme Gel Liner in the shade XOXO, and I'm going to use this to tightline my entire bottom waterline. And lastly, just taking the shade Champagne Toast, I'm going to use this to highlight my brow bone and also my inner corners. Alright guys, so this is the second look completed. For my lashes, I am wearing the Boudoir Lights from House of Lashes. And for my final lip pairing, I decided to go with the Ultra Matte Lip in the shade At Me. I just felt like this shade was more monochromatic to the look, where it has that like purple, pinky undertone. Hopefully you guys like this more smoky, dramatic eye look. It's very easy to achieve, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Getting started with the third look, we're gonna go in with the shade Maple Syrup, and this is going to be our transition shadow, making sure that we are getting that into our inner crease. Since this is going to be a half cut crease, you want to make sure there is shadow all around. And now taking the shade Americano, I'm going to place that at the outer corner of my eye first, stamping the most product there, and then I'm going to bring the rest into the inner crease, because like I mentioned, we are creating a half cut crease. You just want some darkness in that inner crease area, so that way the half cut crease can have something to contrast against. And now using extra slice, I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing, but I'm working with a smaller brush, and I'm going to focus it a little bit lower to my lash line. I'm not going to bring it so high into my crease. This is just going to help deepen up the look even more. And now taking some concealer on the back of my hand, I'm going to start cutting out my half cut crease by placing the concealer at the inner corner of my lid space. And then I'll go in with more of a thinner paintbrush just to really carve out the cut crease and to make it as sharp as possible. Next, using the shade Cinnamon Sugar, I'm using this shadow wet. I'm going to place this at the center of my lid where the concealer is slowly fading out towards the matte. I'm just going to stamp it on right at the middle. And now I'm just taking the Supernova shadow in the shade OG on the back of my hand, and I'm going to apply that to the innermost of the half cut crease. This is also going to be acting as our base, but this Supernova shadow is a lot more glittery. It's not as metallic. There's a lot more thicker glitters in this one, but I'm just going to use a brush so that way I have more control over it. And then I'm going to take the shade Champagne Toast, and I'm going to put that right on top of the Supernova shadow just to kind of fill in the sparse areas and make it look more metallic and pop out. And now I'll be taking the shade Brunch Club, and I'm going to run this all over my lower lash line. I'm actually going to smoke it out quite low. And then I'll be taking the ColourPop Creme Gel Liner in DTLA, and I'm going to use this to tightline my entire bottom waterline. And then I'm just going to take the ColourPop BFF Mascara in the shade Blue Your Mind, and I'm going to apply this to my lower lashes. Alright guys, so this is the third look completed. For my lashes, I am wearing the Boudoir Lights from House of Lashes, and for my final lip pairing, I decided to go with the Ultra Matte Lip in the shade Little One. And hopefully you guys enjoyed another half cut crease tutorial from me. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. I am sweating so much right now. It is so hot. It's supposed to be getting colder in New Zealand because like summer is like kind of over, but it's still so hot. So I'm gonna quickly wrap this video up. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know which look out of the three was your favorite down below, and also let me know your thoughts on this collection. What do you guys think of it? It's not a bad collection, but it's not the best collection, you know? But I will still love to know your thoughts down below. And with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye!